Good evening, everyone. I'm Kelly McKinney of Hohenheim Productions and the Gamerman and Scholars stream team. You'll find me on Twitch as Hohenheim Pro. And today I'm bringing you a video that's a little off from what I would normally kind of do, but I do a lot of consulting and branding work. I do work with a number of streamers, everybody on the stream team, as well as a number of other streamers, on helping them grow and build their streams, marketing, branding, etc. And I hear and see a lot of list videos that explain that when you decide what game you want to play when you're a streamer, that you should pick something that is low in saturation. You don't want something that's highly saturated, or some people say you should choose games that are saturated. All depends on your take. When you're first starting out, I've heard arguments for taking a low saturated game versus taking a high saturated game, etc. Both good arguments. But what I don't see is how to do your saturation research. Now, I am familiar with Twitch Strike, right, which I believe is how you can very easily look up the saturation level of your game. But at the same time, unless you know what goes into that information, you may not know exactly how to use the information on whether or not your game is saturated or not, and whether or not you should stream it. So what I'm going to do, I've made this video to basically take all of you through how to do your own saturation research, okay? How to tailor it to what you want to bring to the gaming community, and how to boil down, I'm old school, so I write things down, how to boil this mess of information, how to get it to boil down to a very simple list like this, which basically just says what your number one game is to stream and what your worst game to stream is based on viewership, growing your channel, etc. Okay, so I have put together a document here to show you how to do saturation research. Now, it's about 15 minutes away from 7 p.m. So I'm going to count our second set of data as a 7 p.m. data. But what you're going to want to do first is make a list of the games that you have available to stream that you are capable of streaming. You're also going to want to get your average viewers and mark that down. Now mine right here, normally my average viewers is right around 7. I hadn't streamed in about 2 months, so right now it's bound to about 3, but we're going to use 7 as our figure as we do our saturation research. And you'll notice here that with my list of games, we are already starting with a data set, okay? And this is what I've done is, so at 12:30 today, I went and I looked up the viewership for each one of my games, okay? And Lord of the Rings Online had 70 viewers, Path of Exile had 16,000 viewers, Elite Dangerous had 187 viewers, Star Trek Online 25, etc., 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 etc. Now, when you do saturation research for yourself, the times that you pick during the day are going to depend on your demographic, okay? The sort of audience that you're catering to when it comes to Twitch streaming. So, me being Eastern Standard Time, I took the 2 data sets from what I consider, or what I've observed with my analytics, to be pretty much my prime viewership times. I used to have an early stream schedule where I'd start out at 10:30 in the morning and go until about 2, and my peak viewership would be between 12:30 and 1:30 p.m. And so for my second stream time, later I had shifted it more towards a later day, Eastern Standard Time, and 7 p.m. was when I would pick up most of my viewers and keep them until about 9, 10 o'clock. So I've chosen 12:30 and 7. So my first data set was from 12:30. I wrote down all of them and chose whether or not they were saturated. Now I'll go over how I determined whether or not they were saturated here in just a few moments, once we start collecting our 7 p.m. data set. But what you're going to need is to be ready to collect data at 2 separate times in the day, okay? Preferably like 6 to 8 hours apart, so that you've got spread out enough during the business day, so to speak, that you'll see whether or not you have more viewership in the morning or more at night, depending on your time zone, right? So you'll need to pick, like I said, 2 different data sets from 2 different times of the day. You'll also need your average viewers and the list of games that you can stream at decent quality, whatever that may be to you. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and we're going to start going through Twitch and finding our games. All right, so first one, Lord of the Rings Online. Our data at 7 p.m. is 24 viewers. So we'll update that. Boom. And this is gonna be in purple. We'll put it right under this set. Text color, this nice little purple here. We had 24 viewers. 24V. Okay, then now we'll take a look at Path of Exile. Okay, so now let me take so at 70 viewers, it was very low. It had very low saturated, and I put V and S because that's both in viewers and in streamers. Because, as you can see here, there are literally, at the very least with an English filter, there are only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 channels streaming in total in the Lord of the Rings Online category, and about 5 viewers per stream averaged out, right? If we average these out, there's about 5 viewers per stream in this, and so this is very low saturated, both in viewership and in streamers. I love this game. So these look awesome to me. I suddenly want to start watching. So again, very low saturation, right? Now, the next one is Path of Exile. We'll bring this one up. 14.3 thousand viewers, which I could have told you it had a lot. 0.3 thousand. Oh, V for viewers. Okay. And it didn't change. It was still very low saturated, both in viewers and in streamers. So that's why I haven't typed below this. Most likely this is going to be saturated as well. So now the reason why we need our average viewer count is because you want to think of this in terms of people who find your channel organically, as low as that number may be. The people who are searching Twitch to find new streamers to watch, and that do it by category or by any of these tags like this, will scroll down to a viewership level that they are comfortable with, and or the title, if it's not just the game, right? Because the game brought them here. Now there's a million streamers. How do we choose, right? So thinking in, at the very least, now it works different from everybody, but as a viewer myself, I'm looking both at the number of viewers as well as even their Twitch name, because to me that says something about what sort of content they're trying to bring to the gaming community, and the title, right? So with the mix of those 3 elements in mind when people are searching, you should keep that in mind, as well as a Twitch streamer when you're trying to attract organic reach for someone who's looking for something to watch on Twitch. So 7 viewers. When I take a look at how saturated a game is, for myself, the 7 viewers, the 7 average viewers, I think if someone was going to try to find me, how far would they scroll down? Would they have to scroll down before they started seeing streamers with only 7 viewers? So let's scroll down, scroll down, scroll down. Then we get to 7 viewers. And I would say that was, let's see, how many rows? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, about 7 rows. Okay, 6, 7 rows before we started seeing 7 viewers. And then when we saw 7 viewers, there was, well, technically right now there's only 1 person with 7 viewers. But this single digit viewership right here is pretty heavy, okay? So this is a highly saturated game for me. It's be very difficult to be able to pick me out of all of these other streamers that are all doing the same sort of content, right? If that makes sense. So it's highly saturated. We won't be changing what we put in the data on this. We'll go back to it. Next game, Elite Dangerous. All right, so for Elite Dangerous, 291 viewers. 291 viewers. Okay, all right, so let me explain right here with the Elite Dangerous, the data that we have. So when I checked it at 12:30, Elite Dangerous had 187 viewers, and it had low saturation. And then we've got this weird looking ratio right here. 90V to 2 STR. That's not 90 views or 90 vitality to 2 strength, as you might recognize. All right, but what that is 90 of these viewers were spread out amongst just 2 streamers, and then all of the other streamers had pretty much single-digit watch numbers, if that makes sense. So if we take 90 away from this, there were honestly about 90 organic, what I would consider organic viewers in the Elite Dangerous category, because 90 of those were spread out amongst 2 streamers. Popular streamers, like, and when I say popular as a small streamer, I'm thinking between 20 and 50 average viewers, right? Okay, small streamers like that, they pretty much retain their viewership and stream consistently and often enough that you'll see the same people in their chat a lot of times. So, which is of course is exactly what we're trying to build as well. But the likelihood of those people moving away from that channel organically, I feel, is very low. And so that's why I come up with these ratios right here. So 90 away from 187, we come up with 97 organic streamers that are looking at other ones. So low saturation, and I use this to offset the original number. Okay, so 291 viewers for Elite Dangerous. Let's take a look at the saturation. So we have, before it takes a huge leap, okay, so the first 4 channels have double-digit viewership. Then it takes a huge leap from 26 down to 9, and then we see this steady decline in the single digits before we get to all these people who have 0 or 1 viewer, right? So with that in mind, I would say that this is still low saturated. We wouldn't change the data that we have in there. But I also don't necessarily need to come up with, hold on, let me see. If this is more than half or around half of the viewership that we have, then we will. So 56, 97, 120, 131, about 150. Okay, so that is about half. So 150 over 4 streamers, we'll go ahead and put that statistic right into this here for the new data. All right, so still low saturation, but we're gonna have a new one here. So this is 150 viewers over 4 STR, short for streamers there, folks. All right. Okay, so jumping right into the next game. STO, Star Trek Online. And we're dealing with 47 viewers. Oh, forgot to change the color on that one. There we go. 47 viewers, and normally it's very low saturation. Let's take a look. Yep, same low saturation as before, and even this time we don't have 1 or 2 channels accounting for the large majority of. So this is, I mean, as low as the viewership is, as far as organic viewers goes, this is pretty decent because you basically don't have a lot of competition as far as when it comes to who's playing what, right? So there we go for Star Trek Online. We don't need to change that. No ratio to come up with. Let's go right into the next one. Phantasy Star Online 2. Excellent. Phantasy Star Online 2. 233. 233V. And let's take a look. Okay, so earlier it was low saturated. And right now, I'd still say the same. 7 viewers, we would appear in the second or third row of streamers as soon as people went here. So they don't have to scroll down to find us. They scan through here, they go, then out of these 8, it's either going to be based on viewership, the name, maybe even the tags, right? So there's a couple of different determining factors, but this has this is what I would refer to as good saturation. I built my way to affiliate with Morrowind, which averaged right around 25 to 50 viewers total in the category. Very niche, but a fun game indeed. Lots of content. Okay, so that was Phantasy Star. Low saturation, still the same, so Elder Scrolls Online is our next. 6.1 thousand viewers. 6.1K viewers. And let's check the saturation on this beast. Okay, so as usual, we've got a couple people. This most like Fang Rush, I think, is the. It wouldn't surprise me if they were ESO stream team. Stay up and support. Drops enabled. Okay, so what we've got is, as usual, Elder Scrolls Online is generally a pretty saturated game. And the case here is, right now, it is still saturated. However, when we get down to single digits after just scrolling a little bit, right? We had 1, 2, 3, 4, just 4 in the 5th row. It immediately drops to 8, 7, 6, 6, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 4, 4, 4. Lots of people streaming it. Okay, so easy to get lost in the mix. At the same time, it's good saturation for it. It's still good saturation. It's saturated, but not too saturated that you wouldn't be discovered. And as you can see, it's got a pretty decent viewership, 6.1 thousand viewers, right? So that's why I have medium/high saturated and not just highly saturated, right? Okay, the Division 2 is our next one. Let's go ahead and change the font color there. Boom. 725 viewers. 725 V. And let's check medium saturation. Okay, so earlier there were 7 streamers, all with about 100 people watching. And we have, again, a pretty steep drop-off. It goes 145, 77, 69, and then straight down to 29, 22, 10, 9, 9, 9, right into single digits. So this has what I would also consider good saturation. But also, this is one of those things where most likely when these 3 people stop streaming this today, this viewership for this game will drop off for the day. So when these 3 streamers are finished, we will have lost about 225, 300. So it'll technically go down to about 400 viewers, 400 viewership. So then we definitely need a ratio for this one. We have 300, right? Yes, about 300 viewers. 300 to 3 streamers, which is not much different, as you can see earlier, from the 600 over 7 streamers. 600 viewers over 7 streamers. Okay. And Arc Survival Evolved. 971. 971 V. Oh. check the saturation. Okay, so as usual, good saturation. Now there's always a lot of people streaming Ark because it just lends to it. It's such a fun game. There's always going to be hundreds of one viewer people streaming Ark. Just how it is. And it's how it is with a lot of saturated games. But take a look at this. So if we were 7 average viewers, we would end up somewhere in the 3rd or 4th row of this. Okay? And with my track record with Ark, possibly in the 2nd row of people to choose from. So with that in mind, what we've got here though is we also have a drop off. 152 viewers, 45, 44, then drops down to 26. So if we take the 250 out of this, so 250 over 3. 250 over 3. 50 viewers over 3 STR. Boom. 250 viewers over 3 STR. Important to keep that in mind. My next game is Fallout. Fallout 76. 426. Okay, and earlier we had 173 viewers were in for one streamer. And so it looks like that guy stopped streaming and it stayed right about where it was. And here we've got 94 viewers to one streamer. Low saturation. Oh wait, that was 94. 94 to 1. It's going to be 94 viewers to 1 STR. And see, now another reason why we turn these into ratios is because these are essentially outliers. They're outliers in statistic data. That's basically what these are considered, are outliers. That's why we turn them into ratios here. So with Fallout 76, yeah, really good saturation. Medium saturation to me is what good saturation is, and that's based basically on my viewership, right? DDO, Neverwinter. Let's check it next. 92 viewers. And let's check the saturation. Low saturated, 26 of those viewers, so about a fourth of them, quarter of these viewers belong to one streamer right now. And I'm going to put it like this: fourth to one. A fourth to one. That's how we're going to refer to that one. Star Wars, The Old Republic. I play a lot of MMOs. 379. Boom. And let's take a look at the saturation on this one. Again, we've got another one. So at the very least, this first one up here, almost practically 120 of these viewers, I round up. 120 V to 1 STR for sure. 120 viewers to one of those streamers. Okay, and the last one on my list here is Medieval Dynasty. Let's take a look. And boom. And 302 viewers. Let's take a look at the saturation. And a somewhat steady decline, considering that only a sixth, between these three top streamers of this right now, only account for about a sixth of the viewers. We're not worried about that. Not necessary. Okay, so now let's talk about what we do with this information now that we have it. So I use this essentially to rank my games. There are certain games that are going to be way too saturated. Path of Exile, there is no chance for organic discovery. Okay, so now, really quickly, let me explain to you why the organic discovery when it comes to saturation is, from my understanding, what matters. And that is because Twitch is not a social media site that has some sort of algorithm that really, they're not good about recommending new channels. So the self-discovery part is yourself. And if you don't already have social media working to your advantage to command attention to bring new viewers to your site, then you are relying on someone searching Twitch for your category or for your name. And so in that way, saturation research is very important, both when you're choosing a time to stream, the game to stream, and as well as everything else. So, what do we do with this data? I start using this to rank it. So, Lord of the Rings Online took a dive in viewership from morning to night. Path of Exile, dive in viewership over just 2,000, went down in viewership. Elite Dangerous went up in viewership, although, and now this is where the statistics, the ratios that we have come into play. Because, did it really though? So, earlier, low saturation, 90 viewers were taking part over two of those streams. So if we take 90 away from 187, we end up with 97. If we take 150 away from 291, we end up with about 150. So it did go up by about 60 viewers if we're not counting the outliers, right? We're not counting outliers. It still went up. So morning viewership seems to not be as popular as night viewership for Elite Dangerous, at least today, right? Depending on the day of the week, the trends do change, so that's another important thing. Doing this more than one day throughout the week, throughout a month, important for keeping up to date on the data. Star Trek Online went up in viewership, so did Phantasy Star Online, so did ESO. Now that seems to be a very, very easy trend. I see ESO every single time I do that research. It seems to go up in viewership at night. The Division 2 went down in viewership. Ark Survival Evolved went down in viewership. That's a rarity. Fallout 76 went down considerably considering the outliers. Actually. Yeah, no, it did. It went down. Neverwinter stayed about the same. Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic, just the Old Republic, sorry, not Knights. You don't have to be a Knight to play that game. It went up. Oh, it stayed about the same. If we took 120 away from this, it'd be about 255. Oh no, then it went up. It went up because 165 of these, so it went from 90 to about 250. It increased from morning to night. And Medieval Dynasty, I see this happens. This last time I did this research, the same thing happened. 1,000 viewers down to 302 viewers, so it got worse. So now, based on what's medium saturation, I basically rank these via stars. So 3 stars is medium or good saturation. All right, low saturation is 2 stars. Very low saturation is 1 star, and we rank them like that. And that is basically how we end up with this list. So Ark Survival Evolved, because it went up, it only went up in viewership from morning to night, is my number 1 game. My number 2 game is The Elder Scrolls Online, because although it does have medium to high saturation, it increases in viewers. It still stays medium to high saturation, but increases in viewers. Then my number 3 game is Medieval Dynasty from viewership alone. Now you'll notice at the top of this list, I've got the 3 games that are too saturated, right? So I've basically used this to build both my schedule as well as to decide what games to play when I stream. Now, the most important thing I think to add to this video before I wrap it up is that the games that I have on this list are all games that I enjoy playing, that I have a good time playing, and that are in my repertoire. So that's super important. Don't go just based on what the saturation research says, but what on you yourself can enjoy playing. And I think that's it today. If you have any comments, questions, or anything on how to go on more in detail about saturation research, let me know. And thank you for spending this time. Hope it helped. Peace. Subscribe for plenty more gaming content.